My journey with Lucy began not in the dusty plains of Ethiopia, as one might expect, but rather, under the somewhat sterile yet strangely exciting fluorescent lights of a Paris airport in 1974. It was an unlikely beginning to a story that would rewrite our understanding of human origins. Carefully packed in my luggage were the fragile, ancient bones, each piece meticulously wrapped and secured. These were not just any bones, they were the remains of a hominin who lived over 3 million years ago, a time when our ancestors were just beginning their long journey towards becoming human. I knew, with a certainty that resonated deep within my scientific core, that this was no ordinary find. These bones, once properly studied and understood, would shake the very foundations of paleoanthropology, challenging existing theories and opening up new avenues of research. The responsibility I felt was immense. It was a weight I carried with both trepidation and excitement. I felt like a courier, entrusted with a precious message from the distant past, a message that humanity had been waiting millennia to receive. At Orly Airport, surrounded by the hustle and bustle of the modern world, by the hurried footsteps and the echoing announcements, I realized with profound clarity that the bones in my bag were more than just fossils. They were a tangible bridge connecting two vastly different worlds, the ancient past and the present day. Unlike the usual fragmented pieces that often emerge from archaeological digs, this was something far more complete, a partial skeleton that offered an unprecedented glimpse into the life of an early hominin, a single individual whose bones, when pieced together, could tell a cohesive and compelling story about our origins, about the very roots of humanity. The anticipation was electric, a palpable energy that crackled among our team. The world, blissfully unaware, had absolutely no idea what we'd painstakingly uncovered in the remote and rugged landscape of Ethiopia. Every unexpected bump of turbulence on the long flight to America made me fear, with a primal instinct, for the safety and integrity of these irreplaceable remains, these precious fragments of our shared past. These were not just inanimate fossils, mere objects to be studied and catalogued. They were the tangible remains of an ancestor, a distant relative demanding not only our utmost care, but also a voice, a chance to finally tell her story. Upon landing in Cleveland, Ohio, I knew, with a renewed sense of purpose, that the real painstaking work, the meticulous process of scientific discovery, was just about to begin. The initial field discovery, the moment of unearthing, was pure unadulterated joy, a rush of adrenaline and excitement, but the true science, the unraveling of the mysteries held within those ancient bones, would happen within the controlled environment of the lab, carefully cleaning away the accumulated dust and sediment of millennia, meticulously analyzing every ridge, every fracture, every subtle detail, and painstakingly interpreting the data to reconstruct a picture of a life lived millions of years ago. We had to rigorously prove what we instinctively felt, what our initial observations suggested, that this remarkable skeleton, soon to be affectionately named Lucy, was not just another fossil, but a pivotal piece in the puzzle of human evolution. She was the key, the missing link, to unlocking long-held secrets about the intricate and fascinating process of how we, as a species, ultimately became human. The world, completely unaware of the seismic shift about to occur in our understanding of ourselves, was on the verge of meeting one of its oldest, most important, and most illuminating relatives. Lucy's significance stemmed from a confluence of factors, each contributing to her monumental impact on paleoanthropology. First, her remarkable completeness. Second, and perhaps most importantly, her profound impact on our understanding of the complex story of evolution. Through the meticulous process of potassium-argon dating, scientists were able to determine that she was approximately 3.2 million years old. This age was far older than anyone had previously imagined, for a hominin ancestor exhibiting such human-like characteristics. What made Lucy truly exceptional was that her skeleton was about 40% complete. This level of preservation is an extraordinary rarity, especially when considering the immense antiquity of the fossil. Prior to the discovery of Lucy, our knowledge of Australopithecus afarensis was largely based on a collection of scattered and often fragmented fossil remains. But with Lucy, for the first time, we could finally begin to truly visualize how this early ancestor was physically built. She presented a fascinating mosaic of both primitive and surprisingly advanced features. Most strikingly, the size of Lucy's small brain stood in stark contrast to the structure of her pelvis and legs. These lower limbs were undeniably and clearly adapted for the efficient act of walking upright on two legs. In essence, she provided definitive proof that bipedalism, or walking upright, came long before the development of larger brains. This discovery overturned decades of long-held scientific assumptions and theories about human evolution. Almost overnight, her skeleton became the gold standard, the benchmark against which all other early hominin fossils were compared and evaluated. Lucy didn't just fill a gap in our understanding, instead she fundamentally restructured the entire framework through which we understand our origins. Our story, it turned out, began not with a thought but with a bold and decisive step onto 2 feet. The day we found Lucy, November 24, 1974, dawned like any other in the remote Ethiopian field. It began with the usual routine of archaeological fieldwork, the sun beating down as we meticulously brushed away layers of earth. After a long, fruitless morning, the team was tired and spirits were flagging. I decided to take one last route, a slightly different path back to our trusty Land Rover. Little did I know, that seemingly insignificant decision changed everything, altering the course of paleoanthropology forever. My eye caught a glint of something unusual in the dirt, a small bone fragment, which turned out to be a hominin arm bone. Then another fragment appeared, and another, scattered across the dusty landscape. Soon, as we carefully collected the pieces, we realized we'd stumbled upon parts of a single, remarkably complete skeleton. A femur, strong and telling, ribs, a pelvis, and even fragments of a skull, all hinting at the story of a life lived millions of years ago. The excitement in camp that night was indescribable. A palpable buzz of energy and disbelief filled the air. As we celebrated this monumental discovery, the Beatles' "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds" played on repeat on a small cassette player, setting the mood. In a moment of inspired whimsy, someone suggested we call her Lucy after the song. The name resonated instantly, and it stuck, becoming an integral part of her identity. Naming her gave the bones a personality, a human connection that transcended the scientific realm. She was no longer just a specimen number, relegated to the cold anonymity of scientific cataloging. She was Lucy, a tangible and relatable link to our distant past, a bridge across millennia. That simple act transformed her from a scientific discovery, known only to a few, into something more universally significant. Lucy became accessible, memorable, a figure that captured the imagination of the world. A name everyone, from scientists to schoolchildren, could easily understand and remember. The combination of a truly spectacular find and a catchy, evocative name created a perfect storm of scientific importance and public appeal. The world was about to meet a new ancestor, one that would reshape our understanding of human origins, and thanks to the serendipitous soundtrack provided by the Beatles, she already had a name that would resonate across cultures. Lucy was ready to become a global icon, a symbol of our shared human story. Lucy's skeleton told a story that upended the brain-first theory of human evolution. For decades, scientists believed our large brains evolved before upright walking. Lucy shattered that idea. Her brain was small, but her pelvis and legs were built for bipedalism. Her anatomy was a direct contradiction to the old assumptions. The shape of her pelvis and the angle of her femur were unmistakably human-like. Her knee joint showed adaptations for efficient, upright walking. All the evidence pointed to one conclusion. Australopithecus afarensis was an accomplished biped. Lucy proved that walking upright was the first major evolutionary innovation, not intelligence. This was a revolutionary shift in our understanding of what made us human. The textbooks had to be rewritten. Lucy's journey from specimen to superstar was driven by her story and a deliberate effort to share it. Her Beatles-inspired name made her approachable and memorable. She became a personality, an ancient relative we could all connect with. I embraced the role of storyteller, writing books and appearing in documentaries to bring her story to the public. Presenting Lucy as an individual, not just data, forged an emotional bond with people everywhere. The media loved her story. A young scientist, a remote desert, a Beatles song, and a 3-million-year-old ancestor. Lucy became a household name, appearing on magazine covers and in countless articles. Her fame popularized paleoanthropology and made human evolution real for millions. She became a symbol of our deep connection to the past. Her skeleton, displayed in museums, allowed people to meet their ancient ancestry face to face. Lucy's journey from bone to icon was complete. When Lucy was found, the human fossil record was sparse and fragmented. Earlier discoveries, like the Tong child and Zinj skull, were important but incomplete. Lucy changed everything by providing a single associated skeleton, connecting a small brain with upright walking. She became the yardstick for measuring other fossils and anchored our family tree at 3.2 million years ago. Since then, new finds like Artie and Turkana Boy have added complexity, showing our evolution was a bushy tree, not a straight line. Yet, Lucy's fame endures. Her discovery was a watershed moment. Her simple, memorable name gave her a permanent place in our cultural lexicon. She was the first to clearly tell the story of walking before thinking. For many, Lucy remains the most famous name in human evolution. She's still the queen of hominin fossils. Lucy's discovery became a catalyst for public engagement and education. I co-founded the Institute of Human Origins, using Lucy as an ambassador for science. Her story drew people into the broader narrative of our evolution. We developed educational programs and used her fame to secure funding for further research. Lucy was more than a discovery, she was an investment in the future of science. One major initiative was the U.S. tour of her real fossils, allowing millions to see her up close. The tour made deep-time personal and strengthened ties with Ethiopia. Lucy became a fixture in science education and inspired a new generation of paleoanthropologists. Her skeleton, or casts, are now standard in museums worldwide. Lucy proved that science can be a compelling story for everyone. 50 years on, Lucy's importance hasn't faded. She remains the essential benchmark in human evolution, a pivotal discovery that settled the debate. We stood up before we thought big. Lucy's story is a reminder of our shared origins, connecting all humans to Africa and to each other. Her small skeleton carries the immense weight of our collective story. She reminds us that we are all part of one ancient family. Lucy's bones are still studied, reanalyzed with new technology, keeping her at the forefront of research. Each new fossil is compared to her. She's the gold standard. Lucy gave our origin story a face, a name, and a tangible reality. She transformed human evolution from a niche science into a grand, accessible adventure. Lucy stands tall, a 3.5-foot giant, the matriarch of our human story, and forever our most famous ancestor.